Hello everyone, this is Mr. Regener, and this is our Chapter 2 practice test. Now I'm looking at this from page 100 in our textbook, so I'm hoping that you can kind of follow along here on the video, but as I look at it, this looks a little bit blurry to me, so it may be easiest for you just to follow along in your book. I will tell you that I'm going to go through all of our questions today, and I will kind of go quickly because I don't want to make a super long video, so feel free to fast forward, to kind of watch things more than once if necessary to help yourself prepare and study for Chapter 2. So first off, I have number 1. So I'm going to write number 1 down. It's an addition problem with decimals. My number 1 rule for that is to line up my decimals. So I'm going to write this out. I have 5 and 138,000 or thousands plus 2 and 624 thousandths. Now, I would recommend looking very carefully at the numbers to write them down correctly. So I have 8 plus 4, that's going to be 12. 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. Drop my decimal down like it's a bowling ball crashing through the floor. 5 plus 2 is 7. There's my answer for number 1. Now on number 2, let's try to write this one down correctly as well. We have 5/6 divided by 10 over 21. Now, for dividing fractions, I want to remember keep, change, flip. And I can write KCF up there on my paper to help me remember. So keep 5/6, change the sign, and flip. So I have 21/10. Now, whenever I'm multiplying decimals, I can always think about cross simplification. Makes my life a little bit easier. And in this case, it makes it really easy. So 5 and 10 have a common factor of 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 6 and 21 have a common factor of 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 21 divided by 3 is 7. Now I just multiply straight across. 1 times 7 is 7, and 2 times 2 is 4. But I'm not done yet because it's an improper fraction. I want to take 7 divided by 4. Well, 4 goes into 7 one whole time, and I'd have 3 left over. That's going to be 1 and 3/4. And there's my answer for number 2. Moving on to number 3. I have a good old-fashioned division problem here. So I have 5 and 46/100 divided by 25/100. Now remember, this is like our good old story with dot the decimal point. I'm going to move over whoop, loop, 2 times, which means whoop, loop, 2 times moved over in my dividend. Okay, the divisor needs to be a whole number. That's why I moved 2 times. Now I float that decimal up to the top, and there it is. So I think 25. Does it go into 5? No. Does it go into 54? Yes, 2 times. That would be 50. I'll subtract. I get 4. I bring down my 6. 25 goes into 46 one whole time. Oops, I wrote 24, but that's 25. I'll subtract. I get 1. I get 2. I'll add a 0 and bring it down because I never want to end with a remainder. I want to keep on going until my remainder is gone. So does 25 go into 210? Well, yes, it does. It goes in 8 times. So I put 8 up top. That would be 200. I'll subtract. I get 10. Still have that remainder, so I still add a 0 on. Does 25 go into 100? Yes, it does. 4 times. That would be 100. And I'm left with that remainder of 0. So my answer here is 21 and 84/100. That was number 3. Let's move on to number 4. It says 9/16 times 2/3. So again, I always want to think about cross simplification, right? It's going to make my life easier. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 16 divided by 2 is 8. See how much easier that is? Now I have 3/8. That's my answer for number 4. I guess I should have probably put number 4 there so you'd know. Let's move on to number 5. Number 5, I'll write it down here. It says 8 and 3/4 divided by 2 and 7/8. Oh boy, now we're really starting to have to do some work here because I have mixed numbers. Remember, I want to turn those mixed numbers into improper fractions by multiplying and adding. And I'm working around the clock. So first up, I'll look at my first one. 4 times 8 is 32, plus 3 is 35. That's 35 is my numerator, and the denominator stays the same, it's 4. Okay, I'll look at the next one. 2 times 8 is 16, And then 16 plus 4. Oh boy, I've got to really think about this one. 16 plus 4, that would give me 23. So 23, and again, denominator stays the same, over 8. So I've got a division now with fractions, so I keep, change, flip. I'm going to keep 35 fourths. I'm going to multiply, and I have 8 23rds. Again, now I can cross simplify if I'm able to. Well, 4 and 8 obviously have a common factor of 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 35 and 23, I'm really scratching my head on this one. I don't think they have any common factors. So I'm going to leave them alone. I'm going to multiply straight across now. 35 times 2. I could do the math off to the side, or I might just know it's 70. And then 1 times 23 is 23. I get 70 23rds, but that's an improper fraction. I need to make sure I divide that. I don't know what 70 divided by 23 is off the top of my head, so I'm going to go ahead and set it up like this. There's my division bar, and there's 70. 70 divided by 23, or I look at it as a fraction, 70 divided by 23. So let's see, 23 goes into 70. So that would be like 46, and then 69. So I'm going to say 3 times. That'd be 69. I'll subtract, I get 1. That 1, whoop, goes up top. I have 1 23rd. So my answer here is 3 and 1 23rd. That's my answer for number 5. Moving on. Number 6, back to a multiplication problem. This is like rapid fire here, these first couple questions. It's just all the different types of math work that we've been doing here in this chapter. And coincidentally, we've been doing a lot. So we're dividing here with decimals. Remember, our rule for division with decimals is that we don't worry about the decimal. We don't line them up or anything. It just so happens they're lined up here because those are the numbers that we were given. So I'm just going to multiply as if this is 487 times 723. Again, I could flip the numbers around if I need to, whatever is going to be easiest for you. So I have 3 times 7, which is 21. I'll put my 2 up top. 3 times 8, which is 24, plus 2, which is 26. 4 times 3, which is 12, plus 2, which is 14. Add my placeholder 0. 2 times 7, which is 14. Put the 1 up top. 2 times 8, which is 16, plus 1, which is 17. 2 times 4, which is 8, plus 1, which is 9. Now I add 2 placeholder zeros because I'm in the hundreds place now. 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 8 is 56 plus 4, which is 60. And 7 times 4 is 28, plus 6 is 34. Whew. Look at this, all these numbers to add together. 1 plus 0 is 1. 6 plus 4 plus 0 is 10. Now I have, let's see, 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 7 is 17, plus 4 is 21. Now I have 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 2 is 12, plus 0 is still 12. 4 plus 1 is 5, and 3 is 3. So I come up with this big giant answer. Now I want to think about the decimals. Look, I have 1, 2 moves there, and 1, 2 moves there. 2 moves plus 2 moves means I'm going to move 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. My answer is 35 and 2,101 10,000ths. That's number 6. Moving on to number 7, we've got ourselves a division problem. So number 7, it says 1,875 divided by 125. Remember, the number after the division sign is going to be your divisor. So it's 125 is our divisor, and the dividend's the first number, 1875. Whew. Okay, let's do some division. 125 doesn't go into 1, doesn't go into 18. It does go into 187. That would be 1 time. So I put 125. I'll subtract. 7 minus 5 is 2. 8 minus 2 is 6. 1 minus 1 is nothing. I'll bring down my 5. 125 goes into 625. I'm sure it does, right? But maybe I don't know how many times. And in this case, I really don't. I'm not messing around with you guys. I have no idea. So I'm going to have to guess and check. So I'm going to do a little bit of math work over here. Oops, 125. I'm going to guess maybe 5 times. That's my guess. I think I've got a good guess, but I don't know. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 2 is 12. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 1 is 6. Look at that! Now, I am not joking, you guys here. I didn't know that. It was just a good guess. And I checked it. So 5 times 125 is 625. I get my remainder of 0. So my answer here is 15. Let's move on. Number 8. We have 10 divided by 2/5. Ooh, this looks tricky, right? 10 divided by 2/5. But remember, 10 is really just 10 over 1, right? That's what 10 is. So I can turn that into a fraction. And now I'm just on Keep Change Flip Boulevard, cruising down the road. 10 over 1 stays. Change the sign. 5 over 2. I can cross simplify here. 10 and 2. Each one's divisible by 2, so 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 and 1 I can't simplify. So I just have 5 times 5, which is 25, and 1 times 1, which is 1. My answer here is 25. The whole number, 25. Because 25 over 1 is 25. Man, we are cruising here. Let's move on. Let's take a look at number 9. Guys, I realize this video is already like 11 minutes long or something like that. So, again, fast forwarding is your friend to get to the ones that you really need to look at. Number 9, it says we have 57 and 82 hundredths divided by 784 thousandths. Remember which one's your divisor? 784. Which one's your dividend? 57 and 82 hundredths. Now we've got to move some decimals around because we have to have a whole number for our divisor. So I'm going to move it over. 1, 2, 3. 3 times. Copycat. 1, 2, 3. Got to add that 0 in there, right? Because otherwise that's just like a weird empty blank space. So our decimal floats up to the top right there. Now we divide. Some people are frightened by division, but don't be scared. Just take it one step at a time. So 784 doesn't go into 5, doesn't go into 57. It actually doesn't even go into 578, but I'm guessing it goes into 5,782. How many times? I do not know. So I'm going to look at this first number, 7. That first number, our first numbers, is 57. 7 does go into 57, right? So I could think maybe it's 8 times. I'm going to sort of guess maybe under that. I'm going to guess 8. So I'm going to check this. 784 multiplied by 8. I'm guessing this is going to be over, but we'll just do the check here just to make sure. So I have 8 times 4, which is 32. 8 times 8 is 64. 64 plus 3 is 67. And then 8 times 7 is 56 plus 6 is 62. So look at that. I did go over. Let's see if 784 times 7 is the trick. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 8 is 56. Plus 2 is 58. 7 times 7 is 49. Plus 5. Oh, I went over. Well, that would be 54. Oops, 54. Wait a minute, I didn't go over. Man, I'm glad I'm doing the checking here because I would have been wrong. So it turns out that 784 times 7 is 5,488. That would be a number that could go into that. So I'll put my 7 up top, on top of the 2, by the way. 7 times 784, I just did the work there, is 5,488. Now I can subtract. Okay, so back over here. 2 minus 8 I can't do, I have to borrow. So that becomes a 7, this becomes a 12. 12 minus 8 is 4. 7 minus 8 I can't do, I have to borrow. That becomes a 6, this becomes 17. I know it's kind of hard to see my writing here, but I apologize. 17 minus 8 gives me 9. 6 minus 4 gives me 2. And 5 minus 5 is nothing. So bring down my 0. 784 going into 2,940. Again, I'm going to have to guess and check. I'm going to guess here. I'm going to guess maybe 3 times. I might be wrong about that. I might be way under. I'm going to guess 3 times, though. Let's just see what happens. So I'm going to take 784 times 3. So 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 8 is 24, plus 1 is 25. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 2 is 23. So look at that. I get 2940 and 2352. I want to try this another way here, and I could multiply this by 4 to see if I can fit another one in there, or I could add on 784. So 2 plus 4 is 6, right? 5 plus 8 is 13. 7 plus 3 is 10, plus 1 is 11, and then I have 3. So look, that would be over. So I was right with my guess. That should be a 3. 3 times 784 is 2,352. Now I subtract. Got to borrow from the 4. That becomes a 3. This becomes a 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. 3 minus 5 I can't do. I must borrow here from the 9. That becomes a 13. 13 minus 5 is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. And 2 minus 2 is nothing. Well, that's a smaller number, so I've checked that. That's good. Now I add a 0 and bring it down. Now I have 5880. Well, look at my work from before. I already know 7 times 784 is 5488. So I'm in pretty good shape there. I can guess I'd have to go 6 times, right? No, 7 times. Look at this, I'm confusing myself. So I have 5488. Now I'm going to run into my checking work here. I apologize for the messiness here. All right, so let's subtract. This becomes a 7. This becomes a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. I've got to borrow again. 17 minus 8 is 9. 7 minus 4 is 3. 5 minus 5 is nothing. Got to add a 0 and bring it down. Remember, we keep on going in decimal land until we get a 0. Now I'm looking for 3920. Let's check this out here. Last time, remember, I multiplied 784 times 3, added on another one, so 784 times 4 is this. Let's try 784 times 5, or in other words, I'm going to add on another 784 here. So 6 plus 4 is 10. 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 3 is 12. I think you might know where this is going. 7 plus 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9. And then 3. I get 3920. So that was 784 times 3, 4, and 5. So I'm going to put my 5 up top. 5 times 784 is 3920. I'll subtract, and I get my remainder of 0. So my answer is 73 and 75 hundredths. Now remember, especially on number 9, this took us a very long time to go through. There's always going to be an end, right? Our book is not going to try to trick us or fool us. If we keep going and going and going and going, we've probably made a mistake somewhere in there. Look at this, guys. This one took up like a whole page of me writing. Crazy, crazy amount of work that we need to do, but we need to do all that work, right, to get our right answer. Let's move on. Take a look at number 10. Number 10 says 5 and 316 thousandths minus 1 and 942. So look, all that work on the division problem, now we are rewarded with kind of an easy subtraction problem. Remember, subtraction, we line up our decimals, which they're already lined up, and we subtract. 6 minus 2 is 4. 1 minus 4 we can't do, we borrow. That becomes a 2. This becomes 11. 11 minus 4 gives me 7. 2 minus 9 I can't do, I must borrow from the 5. It becomes a 4. The 2 becomes a 12. 12 minus 9 gives me 3. Drop my decimal down. 4 minus 1 is 3. 3 and 374 thousandths. Moving on to number 11. Number 11 is a multiplication problem. We are multiplying 6 and 729 thousandths. I'm not worried about decimals at all. And I have 8 times 8 and 3/10. Notice, decimals are not lined up. I'm ignoring them. 3 times 9 is 27. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 2 is 20. Add my placeholder 0. Cross those numbers off so I don't get confused. 8 times 9 is 72. That's a 2, by the way. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 7. Oh, man. 16 plus 7 will be 13. 8 times 7 is 56, plus 1 is 57. And 8 times 6 is 48, plus 5 is 53. Add them together, because remember, we're multiplying. 7 plus 0 is 7, 8 plus 2 is 10, 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5, 0 plus 7 is 7, 2 plus 3 is 5, and 5 plus nothing is 5. Now think about your or your decimal point. 1, 2, 3 moves here. One move there. 1 plus 3 is 4. So whoop, 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 4 times over. Our answer is 55 and 7,507 10,000ths. That's number 11. Let's now look at number 12. Ooh, back to for division. I'm going to use a new page just to make sure I have enough room to fit it all on the page. So I have 13,376. I read that wrong. Divided by 248. Remember, your divisor is the number that's on the bottom of your fraction. So now I just divide. 248 goes into 1, nope. 13, nope. 133, nope. 1,337, yes. How many times? Good question. I'm going to guess 5. Let's just try it again. I was lucky the last time. So 248 times 5. 8 times 5 is 40. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 4 is 24. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So I get 1,240. It's pretty close. I wonder if I can go higher. Let's try it. Now remember, last time I did this, I just added on. I could also just multiply. So this is 248 times 6. So 6 times 8, 48. 6 times 4, 24, plus 4, 28. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 2 is 14. Oop, I went over. So it turns out 5 was my magic number. So 5 times 248 is 1,240. Again, I love the guess and check because we can just make sure our answer is correct each and every time. 7 minus 0 is 7. 3 minus 4 I can't do, I must borrow. That becomes 13 minus 4, which is 9. 2 minus 2, 1 minus 1, we get 97. Bring down our 6. So 248 goes into 976. It does, but how many times? Well, I know 5 is going to be way too much, right? I'm guessing that 4 might work. Let's try it out. 248 times 4. 8 times 4 is 32. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 plus 3 is 19. And 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1, which is 9. 992. Ooh, I was so close, but I went over. It's got to be 3 then. I don't know what 248 times 3 is, but watch what I can do. Math. 248 times 3. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 744. So I'm going to write down 3 here, and my answer was 744. I'll subtract. This is going to be a high number because I was so close before, but 6 minus 2 is 4. 7 minus 4 is 3. What was I? I almost said something different. 9 minus 7 is 2. 232. Again, because this is smaller than our divisor, we know we're in good shape. But now, I can turn this into a fraction. 232 over 248. We could do that, right? We could write this out as a decimal, right? I'm going to choose the fraction form, though. So that's going to be 232 over 248. But we always want to write it in simplest form. In fact, it says it in the directions to write in simplest form. So I'm going to kind of bring this answer down here. 53 and 232 and 248. I want to think about this fraction for a moment. Can I simplify it down? Do they have any common factors? Well, I know for a fact they're both even numbers, so I could divide each of them. Just look at the fraction for a moment. Each of them can be divided by 2. So I want to divide this by a form of 1. That way that fraction is not changing. I'll go with 2 over 2, just to make it really, really easy. So I have to think 232 cut in half. Now I could do a division problem there, and I could figure that out, but I know it's going to be 100, and then because half of 100, or half of 200 is 100, half of 32 is going to be 16, so that's 1/16. And then I'll do the same thing with 48. Half of 200 is 100, half of 48 is going to be 24. So I get 1/16 over 24. But wait, we're not done yet, because that could be divided by a form of 1, right? And if you look at it, they're both even, so I'm going to divide that by 2 over 2. So half of 116, that's going to be 50, because half of 100, plus 8. 58. Half of 124, that's going to be 50 plus 12. Wait a minute. Yeah, 50 plus 12. That's going to be 62. But wait, we're not done yet. 58 over 62. You guys catching on that I could have used the greatest common factor instead? I'm using very small factors, but either way, I'm going to break it down to its simplest form. I'll go with 2 again. Half of 58, that's going to be 25 plus 4, which is 29. And 62 cut in half, that's going to be 30 plus 1, which is 31. Guys, I finally made it to numbers that are not even. Does that mean I'm done? Maybe. Let's think about it. Is there a number that goes into both 29 and 31? Well, let me think about this for a second here. 29 is not divisible by 2, not divisible by 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. I feel like LeBron James right now. No, 29 is not, it's a prime number. 29 times 1. 31 doesn't have any common factors. So this is its simplest form for the fraction. So going back up here, my answer is 53 and 29 over 31. That would be its simplest form. Guys, we did a ton of work on that one as well, but it was all worth it. It all pays off with our correct answer. All right, let's move on and take a look at number 13. Now, 13 is a word problem, but have no fear. It says on a road trip, you notice that the gas tank is 1/4 full. The gas tank can hold 18 gallons, and the vehicle averages 22 miles per gallon. Will you make it to your destination 110 miles away before you run out of gas? Explain. Well, in order to answer this question, we kind of have to figure out what we're even looking at. So we have this gas tank. Now, most cars, gas tanks don't look like a big giant box, but yeah, maybe this is like the nozzle here, and this is the handle. All right, so our gas tank is divided up into 4 parts, right? So we have 1/4 of that tank, which has some gas in it. The entire tank holds 18 gallons. We need to figure out then, how much gas do we actually have? So we have 1/4 of 18 gallons. Whenever you hear the word of in a math class, you think multiply. So we have 1/4 of 18. And I'll just make 18 over 1 because I know I can multiply those two fractions. Now we can think about cross simplification. For example, 4 and 18 are both divisible by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. Now I have 9 halves. That's a mixed number, and clearly I could turn that back into an improper fraction because 9 divided by 2, 2 goes into 9. Let's say 4 whole times, that would be 8, and I have 1 left over. So that's 4.5. That means that this little portion right here, that the amount that we have, has 4 1/2 gallons in it, right? This has 4.5, this has 4.5, 4.5, 4.5. Right? 4.5 plus 4.5 is 9. Add on another 4.5, that'd be 13.5, plus another 4.5, that'd be our total of 18. So we have 4.5 gallons, basically, is what we're saying, with that 1/4 of a tank. It says the vehicle averages 22 miles per gallon. So if we have 4.5 gallons, right? 4 1/2 gallons, and we get 22 miles per gallon, we have to figure out if we can go 110 miles away. Well, let's figure out how far we can go. If we have 4.5 gallons, we get 22 miles per gallon. What are we going to do? What kind of operation will we do to figure that out? We're going to multiply, right? So we're going to take 4 1/2 multiplied by 22. Now, guys, we earlier knew that 4.5 is the same as 9 halves. So I'm just going to convert that 9 halves back. And then 22 is the same as 22 over 1. So that's pretty easy, right? So let me now multiply, and I can think about cross-simplifying. Because 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 22 divided by 2 is 11. Now I have 99 over 1, which means I can go 99 miles on 4.5 gallons. Now in the book it says, can we go 110 miles away? My answer would be no. We can't go 110 miles because we can only go 99 miles. So I could write that out in my my answer here. We can only drive 99 miles, not 110 miles. There we go. So obviously we could write our answer out because we did the math, we solved it, and we know we don't have enough fuel. Let's move on. Take a look at number 14. It says for a diving, I almost said driving, for a diving event, the highest and the lowest of 7 scores are discarded. What that means is they're thrown out, right? So the highest and the lowest of 7 scores are discarded. Next, the total of the remaining scores is multiplied by the degree of difficulty of the dive. That value is then multiplied by 6/10 to determine the final score. Find the final score for the dive. What? Okay, now I'm not a diver, okay? So I'm kind of glad I'm not because this seems so complicated. But all we need to do is read through that very, very carefully and figure out what they're saying. So I'm going to write down all 7 judges' scores just so we can kind of look at them here on the paper. And again, I'd recommend doing whatever is going to help you to answer the question. For me, I like to write them all out. Okay. Now I'm going to look back at the words here. It says the highest and lowest are discarded. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the highest and lowest numbers and just cross them off. So let's see. Highest one would have to be this 9.0. That's gone. The lowest one, let's see, a 7. I think that's the lowest one, the 7.0. Gone. Okay, so now I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scores, which is perfect. It says the total of the remaining scores is multiplied by the degree of difficulty of the dive. Now it says difficulty is 3.1. So the total of the remaining scores is multiplied by the degree of difficulty. So I need to add together all these numbers. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to set it up kind of like a regular addition problem. So I have 8.0, 7.5, 8.0, oops, 8.0, 8.5, right? The right numbers always helps. And 7.5. So I'm going to add these all together. I've got all 5 of them. So that's 5, 10, 15. Drop my decimal. Now I have 8. Let's see how I'm going to do this. I have 1, 2, 3 8s. 8 times 3 is 24. And then I have 2 7s. That's 14. 24 plus 14 is going to give me 38. Plus 1 is 39. Now you can obviously add those however you'd like. So my total, 39 and 5/10 is multiplied by the degree of difficulty, which is 3 and 1/10. So I'm going to multiply that. I feel like this is kind of like a little mystery puzzle. We're just unlocking it one step at a time. So I'm going to multiply everything by 1. That's 5, 9, 3. Add my placeholder 0. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 9 is 27, plus 1 is 28. And 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11. Now I'm going to add them together. Notice I've ignored all the decimal points here because I don't care about them. I mean, I do care. They're special to me. I just don't care that much. So I end up with 12,245, but now decimals matter. Move it over. I got 1, I got 1. I'm going to move it over 2 times. My answer is 122 and 45 hundredths. Let me check this out. It says that value is then multiplied by 6/10 to determine the final score. What? I still have to multiply. So I'm going to take my total, 122 and 45 hundredths, and multiply it by 6/10. I put 0.6. I could have left the 0 out. Either way. So I have 6 times 5, 30. 6 times 4, 24, plus 3, 27. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 2 is 14. 6 times 2 is still 12, plus 1 is 13. And 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Now I think about my decimals. 1, 2 spaces, 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3 spaces. My answer is 73 and 47 hundredths. Now I took that 0 off because I don't need it. I could have said 470 thousandths, but 47 hundredths is just fine. So that is the final score for the dive. Let me just double check and make sure I did it. I did. That's my final score. Fantastic. Let's move on. Take a look at number 15. Number 15. It says, you are cutting as many 20 and 1/2 inch pieces. You guys can't see that. There it is. You are cutting as many 20 and 1/2 inch pieces from the board to make ladder steps for a tree fort. How fun. How many steps can you make? How much wood is left over? That's a great question. So it says that we have 120 inches of wood. Right, there's my big giant board. And I'm going to cut away 20 and 1/2 inches. Okay. So I want to figure out how many of those I can do. There's a couple ways I could solve this. Okay. I could just add 20 and 1/2 plus 20 and 1/2 plus 20 and 1/2 plus 20 and 1/2 plus 20 and 1/2 until I can figure out when I get to 120 or under. I don't want to go over. Or because I'm cutting it up, I'm quite literally dividing this board up. I could just set it up as a division problem, which is what I'm going to do. So I have 120 divided by 20 and 1/2. There it is. Right? So I'm going to write this out in fraction form. So I have 120 over 1 divided by 20 and 1/2. Oh no. I've got a mixed number. I need to turn it into a fraction by multiplying and adding, working around the clock. 2 times 20 is 40, plus 1 is 41. That was pretty easy, right? Keep my denominator the same. Now it's just dividing fractions. Keep, change, flip. We practiced this before. Keep 120 over 1. Change 41 halves into 2 over 41. I think about cross-simplifying, but I quickly learned that I can't really do it. So I have 120 times 2, which is 240 over 41. Obviously an improper fraction. I need to divide to figure this out. That's 240 divided by 41. Well, 41 doesn't go into 2. It doesn't go into 24. It's got to go into 240. And I need to guess and check here because I don't know. I think about 4 and 24, and I think maybe 6. Let's try it out. Let's try out 5, I think, because I think I'm going to be over. 41 times 5. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 4 is 20. I get 205. Let's try 6 just for fun. Make sure you guys can see it. 1 times 6 is 6. 6 times 4 is 24. And just as I thought, I'm over. Right? So it goes in 5 times. 5 times 41 is 205. I subtract. Got to do a little bit of fancy borrowing there. 10 minus 5 is 5. 3 minus 0 is 3. And 2 minus nothing is nothing. So I end up with 5 and 35 over 41. Now again, 35 over 41, I want to make sure I simplify that as much as I can. So I'm trying to think of some numbers that go into both 35 and 41. And you know what? I can't think of any. So my answer here, 240 over 41, is 5 and 35 over 41. Now let's go back to that question for a moment, right? It says, how many steps can you make and how much wood is left over? Well, look at my answer here. I can make 5 steps with 35, 41 inches left over. Does that make sense? 5 steps, 5 whole, and then my leftover part would be this piece of wood here. It's going to be almost a full inch, but not quite. 35 over 41 is not quite 1 full inch left over. There's my answer for number 15. Guys, if you're hanging on now, you are troopers. right? Because this is getting to be a long video. But I hope you're able to fast forward and get to the questions you really want to get to. Number 16, here it is. You spend 2.5 hours online. You spend 1/5 of that time writing a blog. How long do you spend writing your blog? You're like a food blogger, I'm not really sure. But there's 2.5 hours total. Like this is the total amount of time that you're online. Just 1/5 of that time is going to be how much time you spend writing. So we need to think, what are we doing here? How am I going to figure this out? How long is this 1/5? We want to know what 1/5 of 2.5 hours would be. I just said a magic math word of. We're going to take 1/5 of 2.5, or 1/5 times 2.5. But remember, when I turn that into a fraction here, by multiplying and adding, 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. That's 5 halves. Think about cross-simplifying. I love it when the numbers are the same, 5 and 5. Those simplify down to 1. So now I have just 1/2. So my answer here, out of this 2.5 hours, what is 1/5 of that time? It's 1/2 hour. 1/2 hour writing your blog so that you can spread the word about your favorite foods throughout the interwebs. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at number 17. Guys, I can't believe it. We made it to the last question. This has been a lot of work. Let's take a look at it. You and a friend take pictures at a motocross event. Your camera can take 24 pictures in 3 7/500 seconds. Your friend's camera can take 36 pictures in 4 5/10 seconds. Evaluate the expression 35 divided by 4 5/10 divided by 24 divided by 3 7/500 to find out how many times faster your friend's camera is than your camera. What? All they're asking us to do is to solve this problem they've already written out for us. So we have 36 divided by 4 5/10 divided by 24 divided by, well, a division going on here, right? So we essentially have two division problems in parentheses and then a division problem there. Lots of division going on. So let's get it started here with our first one. 36 divided by 4 5/10. So 4 5/10 is my divisor. 36 is my dividend. Got to move the decimal. Got to add a decimal. Move it. Add that 0. Hope that makes sense. My handwriting's getting sloppy, and I hate when that happens. So I have 45 going to 3, and it can't. 36, it can't. 360, it can. But how many times? Here's where we've got to do some guessing and checking. I'm going to guess maybe 9 times, but I might be over. I'm going to guess 8 times, actually. 8 times. Let's try it out. So I have 45 times 8. 5 times 8 is 40. 8 times 4 is 32, plus 4 is 36. I was right on the money. What a great guess. I'm such a good guesser. That's 8. That's 360. I'm left with a remainder of 0. Fantastic. Let's take a look at the next one. It's 24 divided by 3 7/500. So 3 7/500 divided by 24. I've got to move my decimal in the divisor 2 times, which means I've got to move this one 2 times and add my zeros. 375 goes into 2. Nope. 24. Nope. 240. Nope. 2,400. Yes. But how many times? Let me think about this one. I'm going to guess 6 times. Is that crazy? Is that crazy? I don't know. Let's try it out. 375 times 6. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 7 is 42, plus 3 is 45. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 4 is 22. Look at that. I need maybe another one? Maybe? Let's try another one and see what happens. If I have 375 times 7, 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 7 is 49, plus 3 is 52. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 5 is 26. I'm over. I went over. So it is 6 times. That's 2250. Now I have 0 minus 0 is 0. Bar off from the 4, that becomes a 3. This becomes a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. That 3 minus 2, that's a 3, by the way. You can't tell. 3 minus 2 is 1. I get 150. Now, I've got 150 over 375. I can make that a fraction, but I'm going to stick with decimals. I'm kind of in that decimal mood. My problem is I've got my work here, and I'm going to run out of room. So I'm going to try to add this 0 on here, bring it down. 375 going into 1,500. Well, I know it's got to be below 6. So let me take some guesses here. I'm going to try maybe 3 times. Okay, so 375 times 3. 5 times 3 is 15. 3 times 7 is 21 plus 1 is 22. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 2 is 11. I get 1125. Maybe another one. 375 times 4. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 7 is 28 plus 2 is 30. 4 times 3 is 12 plus 3 is 15. Look at that. That was the ticket right there. I get 1,500. I'll subtract and get my 0. So I get 6 4/10. So guys, look at our problem here. We've taken this, which is now 8, and this, which is now 6 4/10. And we have 8 divided by 6 4/10. I don't have a lot of room here. So I'm going to just sort of make some more room over here. So I'm going to take 6 4/10, that's my divisor, divided by 8, move my decimal over 1 time, add my 0. So I have 64 going into 80. It's going to go in 1 whole time, that's 64. I'll subtract. To borrow, that becomes a 7, this becomes a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 1. I'm going to add a 0 and keep on going because I want this answer to be in decimal form, although I could have kept it in fraction form. Hey, a little behind the scenes story here. It's like really late in the nighttime, and I just woke up my daughter, and I feel bad about it. But anyway, 64 going into 160. I'm going to guess maybe that's only going to go in twice, but I don't know for sure. Let me do some checking over here. So I'm going to go 64 times 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 6 is 128. All right, maybe it can go in another time. Let's try. 64 times 3. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 6 is 18. Plus 1 is 19. Ooh, look, I went over. I was right. It only goes in 2 times. 2 times 64 is 128. I'll subtract. Got to borrow. That becomes a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 5 minus 2 is 3. That's 32. I'll add another 0 and bring it down. 320. Well, let's see. 64 goes into 320. I'm going to guess maybe 5 times? Let me try it out. 64 times 5. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 6 is 30 plus 2 is 32. Ding, ding, ding. 320. So I get a 5 there. 320. Subtract. There's my lovely remainder. So my answer to the whole problem, 8 divided by 6 4/10, is 1 25/100. Guys, that is crazy amount of time we just spent on this, but it's all so worth it. And keep in mind, your test tomorrow is going to be very similar to this. So if we spent a crazy amount of time on this now, you're probably going to be looking at spending a crazy amount of time on your test tomorrow. So please take the time that you need to complete your test accurately, correctly, and do your best. Thanks, guys, for your attention, for paying attention. I hope you do well. Again, this has been your practice test from page 100 in your Big Ideas textbook. Have a good day.